From massive waves crashing onto a ship in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and a steel bridge in Bosnia that didn't stand a chance against the raging river, to a multi-story building in China that collapsed after days of heavy floods, and 2 Indian men who decided to risk it all by crossing this rickety bridge during a flood. Here are 10 times Mother Nature got angry on camera. The Lancang River, also known as the Upper Mekong River, flows over 3,000 miles from the Tibetan Plateau to South Vietnam. Along the way, it passes through the Cham Do Prefecture, a small city in the Tibet Autonomous Region. The area is prone to heavy rain and flash floods. When it happens, the Lancang River gets a little upset. Heavy floods ravaged Cham Do in July of 2017. It got so bad along the river that building foundations eroded and floated away. It was only a matter of time before this 5-story building collapsed. From another angle, you can see the building pulling down power lines as it falls into the river. We imagine that caused some debris to fall into the streets, which sent the onlookers scattering. The river also claims a red truck for good measure. It floats away like a pool toy. Thankfully, everyone was evacuated from the 5-story building long before it fell. We're not sure whose bright idea it was to build an apartment building on the riverbank. Floods and raging rapids like these are all too common in China. That building was doomed from the start. In May of 2014, Bosnia and Serbia experienced the worst flooding in the region in over 120 years. Homes were swept away, and violent landslides cut off communities from much-needed resources. Overall, heavy rain utterly devastated the entire Balkan region. In Zavidovici, a small town in central Bosnia, locals watched as a massive steel bridge broke free from the road and floated down the Bosna River. What they witnessed next is the jaw-dropping power of rushing water.
Ovdje je ispod. Vidi ono tamo.
Most duga, 15. maj.
Ovdje je duga most.
Think about how much pressure that bridge must be under. At first, it looked like the steel frame was just going to get stuck against the cement bridge. But the water kept pushing, and it was quickly reduced to a pile of scrap metal. On a normal day, the Bosna River is nowhere near that high. The flooding was so bad in Serbia that the government begged for help from Russia and the EU. Across the Balkan states, 200 landslides cut power to several regions. Army helicopters were called to airlift some 4,000 people to safety, but bad weather hindered their efforts. La Palma is a 29-mile-wide, tooth-shaped island in the North Atlantic. It's the largest of the Canary Islands, which are technically owned by Spain, even though they're off the coast of Morocco. The island is home to 2 large volcanoes, Caldera de Taburiente in the north and Cumbre Vieja in the south. Of the two, Cumbre Vieja is the younger and more active. In September of 2021, an earthquake swarm beneath La Palma stirred things up inside Cumbre Vieja. Geologists recorded more than 22,000 earthquakes in 1 week. All of that activity led to an eruption on September 19th. While the eruption lasted several months, it was Halloween of 2021 that had everyone talking about La Palma Island. The Cumbre Vieja eruption lasted well past Halloween. It continued spewing lava for 85 days before finally stopping in mid-December. In that time, over 3,000 homes were destroyed by rolling walls of molten rock. Lava flow from Cumbre Vieja spanned over 1,000 hectares. At its biggest, the lava flow was nearly 4 miles long and 2.2 miles wide. There was so much lava that it formed a new peninsula as it cooled in the ocean. Total economic losses tallied over 842 million euros. That includes 228 million worth of roads and infrastructure, 165 million for public and private buildings, and about 200 million worth of bananas. For the record, La Palma's banana industry accounts for 30% of economic life on the tiny island. Nanchang Changbei International Airport in Jiangxi Province, China, services about 27,000 people per day. They're one of only 507 airports across the country. By comparison, the United States has over 13,500. On March 4th of 2018, passengers walking around Terminal 2 were in for a harrowing airport experience. The weather kicked into high gear. Rain pelted the tarmac, and 83-mile-per-hour winds halted all flights in and out of the airport. Then, someone noticed the roof was caving in. Look at all the debris scattered across the runway. Imagine you're stuck on a plane and that's all you see out the window. Thankfully, nobody got hurt when the roof collapsed, though the event did scare a few locals. One traveler said it felt like the end of the world. The wind was so strong, they were convinced all the glass was about to break. Airport officials had more confidence in the building's integrity. They diverted new arrivals through the departures hallway and resumed operations later that day. Yulin is a prefecture-level city in northwestern China. In late July of 2017, the city and its neighboring communities were inundated by devastating floods. Several days of heavy rain, upwards of 4 inches in 24 hours, caused a nearby dam to overflow. Water rushed from the dam and flooded the streets below. Nearly 10 feet of standing water buried cars and low buildings. 20,000 people were forced to leave their homes. Those who stayed recorded the flood from above. You can see where water spilled from the Yuxi River and moved into the surrounding streets. Some land around the river was so badly eroded that entire buildings collapsed and floated away. This video goes to show how catastrophic dam failure can be. According to reports, the flood destroyed over 17,000 acres of farmland. Over 600 miles of roads were covered in mud and debris. About 1,400 houses suffered severe damage, while 43 crumbled to nothing. Economic losses soared past 38 million yuan, or about $5.5 million. Hurricane Ian wreaked havoc on Cuba and southern Florida in late September of 2022. The Category 4 storm slammed into Lee County with winds blowing upwards of 150 miles per hour. As of 2023, Ian is the fifth strongest hurricane to hit the United States. It was also the strongest storm to hit Florida since Hurricane Michael in 2018. Ian never relented as he destroyed everything in his path. Cars, homes, businesses, it didn't matter. Countless hours of video and thousands of pictures emerged, showing Ian's widespread destruction. But it's the real-time footage taken during the storm that shows us how crazy it was. Imagine watching the streets you drive on every day disappear underwater. Footage from another balcony shows the ocean coming up over the beach and flooding the streets. Both shots come from Fort Myers, Florida, one of the worst-hit places during the storm. The barrier islands in Lee County absorbed a brunt of the damage. Public safety officials described them as decimated and unrecognizable. Rough estimates claim Ian caused between $50 and $65 billion worth of insured damages. The key word there is insured. There's no telling how much uninsured damage Ian caused. Some claim it could be as high as $100 billion worth of financial losses. That includes lost tourism revenue, which is a significant portion of South Florida's GDP. The Pabar River flows for 108 miles through Himachal Pradesh, India. In August of 2019, extremely heavy rain triggered a series of floods and landslides across the region. Raging rapids on the Pabar sent a wooden bridge to its breaking point. Then, two locals decided to risk it all to get across. At least the guy up front was smart enough to bring an umbrella. You can see where debris has piled against the side and warped the bridge out of shape. We're not sure if these two were daredevils looking to make a viral video, or if they really needed to cross the river. New Zealand breaks into 2 main islands and 16 different regions. The Auckland region in the north is home to 1.6 million people. Most of them live in Auckland City, the largest metro area in the country. In early 2023, several days of heavy rain led to the biggest climate event in New Zealand history. Floods devastated the Auckland region as water swept through the streets. Almost everything in sight found itself underwater, especially this foodstuffs grocery store.
The trolley. Oh, that's shit. Give me food. Jeez. Wild. This is wild.
At least everyone seemed in good spirits as they trudged through knee-high water. The empty shelves remind us of early COVID lockdown days. You know, without all the water. The funny part is these people were apparently still shopping when the store was flooded. Imagine being called into work to bag groceries. Hopefully, the employees wore their bathing suits. Jokes aside, the Auckland floods were financially devastating. Finance Minister Grant Robertson said the floods would be the biggest non-earthquake event in terms of insurance claims ever recorded in New Zealand. Meanwhile, foodstuffs executives begged people to only buy what they needed. COVID taught them a valuable lesson about panic shopping. At least all the toilet paper floats. Mount Semeru is the tallest volcano on the Indonesian island of Java. It's also among the most active. Locals often refer to the steep-sided volcano as Mahameru, or the Great Mountain. On December 30th of 2020, villages in the Lumajang Regency of East Java witnessed a stunning yet terrifying sight. Mount Semeru began erupting, causing lava to flow down its steep sides. Simultaneously, the area got hit with a heavy rainstorm, which cooled the lava and turned it into a muddy flood. All that material had to go somewhere. These were there to capture it. The powerful rapids tore down everything in their path. One local had an excellent vantage point in the forest, watching the cold lava flow snake down the mountain. The locals are used to Mount Semeru blowing its lid. The volcano has erupted 55 times since 1818. It's also been in a state of near constant eruption since 1967. Deep-sea ships take on water all the time. Thankfully, they have these things called scuppers built into the vessel. Scuppers are small openings on the deck level that let water drain back into the ocean. Without scuppers, a ship's deck could take on too much water and start sinking. On June 5th of 2010, a ship worker off the coast of Brazil learned how helpful scuppers can be. He went outside to smoke when he noticed some monster waves crashing over the deck. His quick smoke break wound up looking more like a scene from Titanic. If not for the scuppers, he'd likely be up to his knees in water. It's all the added weight that makes that water extremely dangerous. Ships float because they're less dense than the water. All the open space creates air pockets that keep the ship from sinking. The more you fill that space with cargo or water, the more dense the ship becomes. Too dense, and it sinks. We can thank the ancient Greek mathematician Archimedes for developing the basic principles of buoyancy. He basically figured out modern sailing in his bathtub. If you enjoyed this video and want to see another just like it, then be sure to click the link on screen now. With that, thanks for watching and be sure to tune in next time.